Mary, welcome. So we were, yeah. Okay, Mary, before, so for everybody that's listening, we're laughing right now because we didn't even get 3 seconds into the recording and the internet froze already. So the beauty of technology, and we're both in a super remote location, so which we'll reveal in a short moment. But real quick, Mary, I want to kick us off just with a real quick question. So,
Sure.
as you know, this podcast is focused on women over 50, and it's really meant for everyday women to tell their story, their entrepreneurial journey, their story about making life just happen when they're 50 and over. And when I met you through a friend that I had met a couple of years ago, but I found out about you just through Instagram. I feel like I'm meeting so many great women on Instagram. Yeah. And I reached out to you and I said, hey, you know what? I love your style. I just love the cheekiness of what you do. And would you be on my podcast? And I think what I think the most that really stuck out the most was that you really put yourself out there. And it's hard to put yourself out there like on the social media world platforms without sort of some sort of insecurity or, sort of fear or what will people think, but you really just don't even come across like that. And so the first question I've got for you is, what do you have for advice for women who are over 50, who are sitting on the sidelines, waiting to live a life, wishing that they could live this life, but they're hesitant and they just can't seem to muster up the courage, or they may not have an idea of what they want to do now that they're in their 50s. I mean, we all get to that stage of what's next. I mean, in 50 especially, because we've probably become empty nesters, or we've had a significant death in our family, or we might have lost our job, or whatever that event that happens. But then we don't know how to get and put ourselves out there, because most of us think in our 50s we're shrinking violets. So that does not come across in your personality, in what you put out there. So if you knew somebody was listening and they were thinking those things, what would you say to them?
Lots of people ask me, how did you do this? Why? And oftentimes I think that the person who's asking is really just afraid. They're scared to death to make a change because they've got their lives in order, so to speak. They've got their house, they've got their kids, everything is set up, and they've got their retirement plan going, and fear holds them back from just cutting loose. And I've never been that kind of person. I just, I don't want to be stuck. And the very first time I realized that was when I started teaching in a public school. I'd been teaching in private schools, but I moved into a public school, and the person across the hall from me had been teaching in the same room for 21 years, the same materials, and inviting me to use them. And I went, I know, that is not me. It's not my style. I change things all the time. So I think that to be somebody who is wants to make a change at age 50, you've got to have a deep conversation with yourself. Like, what is it that I'm afraid of? Why do I not? I mean, I want to do this, but I'm scared to death. And the things that hold us back are often our children, because we don't want to be far away from them. Our parents, because they're ailing or will be, we expect in the future, or how are we going to pay off our mortgage, or how are we going to have a retirement? All those things that tangle us up. And I think it's just like really having that conversation with yourself and find out, what is it I really want to contribute in my life? What is it that's so important to me that I don't want to die without doing this? So that, I don't know, just a conversation with yourself, like figure it out. Get to it.
I love that. I specifically like the part where you said, what do you want? Like, what is the legacy kind of thing? And I think just that is such I've heard that a few times from women who I've coached around, starting, like switching their careers, starting a new business. And it was such a aha moment when one of them said, I have a great life. I have, I get to go
Yeah.
skiing when I want to. I get, I'm close to my kids, this and that. But I realized I want to leave more than just a legacy of boxes behind for my kids. And I want that. And I want more for my life. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. And so she did. She made a significant shift in her career. She left a 30-year engineering job, but that was the first time I had ever heard somebody say, I'm not going to leave a legacy of boxes behind. And that was such a powerful statement. So,
Yeah.
all right. Mary, welcome to This is 50, Freedom Through Passion. I, first of all, just give us the lay of the land of a little bit about your background. When you answered that first question, you said, well, it takes courage to do this, but what is this? So tell us a little bit about you. Go back into your
Okay.
background a little bit and how it evolved and to where you are today.
Okay. First of all, it's not for everyone what I'm doing, so just to make that clear. Some people are, it's just not the right thing. I started out in a really tiny town and grew up kind of a country bumpkin kind of a girl, and my father was a forester, and we lived kind of a backwoods sort of life. And my mother really insisted that we move to a place where I could get a better education, and so we did. And that kind of was the springboard, I guess, for to where I was an educator in the U.S. and teaching in public school. And I was in my second and final marriage, and my husband and I decided that we wanted to travel. We didn't want to travel just for the sake of seeing places, but we really wanted to really try to understand cultures. So we started out by trips to Mexico, extended trips, and one of them our children even joined us. But just to get that, try to understand what it would be like to live with people that were so different from us. We had a completely different background. We went home and we wrote our goals. We had some 5-year goals, and one of them was to live overseas, which seemed really extreme at that time, but we just put it on the fridge and did absolutely nothing to prepare for such a thing, do such a thing. Anyway, we just had it there as a reminder. Over time, over the next 5 years, we managed to check off everything on that list, including that desire to move overseas. What happened was our neighbors who moved in across the street from us were experienced educators who were international educators, and they got us psyched about doing it. So we took off. We took our first position in Kazakhstan. Talk about scared out of your mind. I had no idea what we were doing and no idea really where Kazakhstan was. So we had accepted the job, and then we were like, wait, where is that? It's so ridiculous. That's kind of backwards. I don't recommend that approach. But we went and went to Central Asia, and we didn't see another American all year except for the people we worked with, and it was a very small group, except my parents, who have instilled in me this desire to understand cultures and to see the world, and they continue to do so. Well, my father died, but my mother, even at 95 last year, came to Portugal. So it's in us. It's in my brother and my sister and I. Anyway, so Kazakhstan, we were there a year. It was the toughest year ever, I thought. It was very challenging. We didn't understand the language at all. We tried, and we were, I don't know, the way that they were teaching us was being shouted at, and then there was just a lot of conflict. It was, anyway, the backstory is that the people there did not know why we were there, the educators there. And we were working for the president of Kazakhstan, and he wanted the school that was a model of education from the U.S. Well, that kind of triggered some bad feelings. We stayed a year. There were some really hard challenges, some times when we really didn't know if we were going to actually live through it, because there were some terrifying things that happened. Brief, but terrifying. Anyway, so then we moved on to Italy. We stayed there for over 22 years, and we're educators there. I worked in several schools there, and then we moved to Portugal 2 years ago, almost, to the day. December 1st.
So, so you have been like a global educator, if I can call
Yeah.
you that,
Yes.
for the past 17 years,
No
if I
more.
can't do them,
Almost 25 years. It's been
25
20,
years.
23. Yeah.
Okay, so and did you take your kids with you then? Like, how old are your
No,
kids now?
they were all adults at the time. So the youngest one was 19 when we left, and then the oldest one was 24, and now they're all in their 40s. So that
Wow.
makes me
Okay,
like
so you
50,
started
right?
young. Yeah, you started young, girl. You started really young on those
Ah,
babies.
no, it's
Okay,
get those babies
I
out.
have exactly. I have to back up. So, because this one sort of touches my heart a little bit. So you left when you went on to your the 5 year vision that was on the fridge.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so much to unpack. So, but the first thing is you uprooted yourselves and you went on this journey and you left the 19-year-old and the 24-year-old, 25-year-old behind.
And
Um,
two more in between. So there
and
were
two more in between.
four girls, yeah. Our blended
Okay,
family. Yeah.
a blended family, right? Okay. And how was that? Because I'm sure every single woman, including myself, because I had the very similar experience where my son was 18 when I sort of moved on to my next chapter. And I never really included him in that decision, to be completely honest. I made the decision and then let everybody know. But I kind of wonder, did I do something there that might have impacted him? Because he was the only person he knew was me. I raised him full
Mm.
time, 100% of the time. So, and I know so many of my friends and other women that I hear. I mean, we do revolve our
Rapidly.
lives around our kids
Yeah.
and wanting to stay close for grandchildren and wanting to stay close for that. So, how did you? Was there
Mm.
guilt? Was there this guilt? Yeah, like was there
Yeah,
guilt?
absolutely. Absolutely. Struggles with not seeing them often, struggles with not being able to communicate at times, like when we were in Kazakhstan, the technology was terrible. We had a really hard time making even phone calls from there. So that was a rough year. And that first year out, I think was probably the toughest for them and for us. And there've been ebb and flow of that. I mean, as each of them goes through whatever she's going through, they need us. And fortunately, we have really great internet and good service now. And we made a commitment to go back to the States for 3 months every year, which has also made a difference. And I mean, when we were educating overseas, that was harder to just take off. But now we have a little bit more flexibility, and that's been really helpful. Um, Losing my dad was a really hard time too. Just he was um, struggling, and I couldn't be there because it was COVID. And yeah, there's just some sacrifices that are tough. I can't sugarcoat that. It's just you just have to have the kind of fortitude that you're willing to make those sacrifices and find a way around them. I think that it's really easy to just say I can't do this because of my children, but you can. You just have to find the way that works for you.
And that's an interesting thing that you're saying there, because do you think sometimes we use it as an excuse that it's
Yeah.
sort of we actually have a fear of doing something for ourselves, or that fear, or we're not willing to take that risk, and so then we say, oh well, I can't do that because I want to be closer to my kids and they need me.
Yeah, I think so. And I think also we don't look at what this could provide for them. I mean, there's the wonder of them seeing you just taking hold of something, having a big dream. And I would wish that for them, that each of them would have big dreams and go after them and not be stuck and, not just feel like their lives have to be ordinary. They can be extraordinary. So, as
Exactly.
modeling it, I think is great.
Yeah, and it comes back to that statement we said, like leaving a legacy of boxes or leaving a legacy of modeling what they should be doing in their lives. Because I mean, I think this is the first time that, I mean, I think us in our 50s, we lived a very stereotypical life. You clearly broke the
Right.
grain. Lots of people have broken the grain in their 50s, but a majority have not. And
Right.
I think that unless we want our kids to follow the same thing that we've done, we have to make those changes. We have to take those risks. So let's circle back a little bit to that where you and your husband wrote your 5-year goal. Did you always do that as a married couple, or did you just decide to do it? Like, did you one year just say, hey, we should write some 5-year goals here?
It's a one-time deal.
It was a
Why don't we
one-time
do
deal.
it? And now we do it, but it's just we just talk about it. Like, okay, what are we going to work on next, or what are we aiming for here? So the whole idea of moving to Portugal was like wild. Like we started traveling here, and then we said, why don't we just move there? And so when we stopped teaching, it was a possibility to move here, and I don't know. Then that whole thing evolved too. Like, is when you come up with obstacles, like we came up with so many obstacles when we moved here, and I don't know, just both of us having that kind of mindset of like, we're going to figure this out, even if it's really painful. This is our dream. We want to settle here and really explore this culture and start something completely new. So we have really big ideas of where we're headed with this. But anyway, so yeah, that's it.
So when I think about like, and I'm even in the same situation too, where I've moved somewhere, but I don't feel like it's my for sure spot, my long-term spot.
Right.
And it could be just a lack of a few other things, other just not knowing, but it's like I just don't feel settled yet. And it could be just I haven't found the right community. I'm not in a relationship, so I feel like I'm still able to wander around a little bit. But I do
Yeah.
sometimes get that old school urge. I got to grow some roots. I got to plant some roots. I got to plant some roots. And when do you balance that? And did you guys ever have that conversation of like you're traveling around, you're doing that sort of 20 odd years of global teaching? Did you have the conversation one day where it said, you know what, maybe we need to plant some roots. Maybe we do need to settle down?
No.
No?
And maybe this is it. I don't. Maybe we are settling down finally. But even in Italy, when we lived there for 22 plus years, we moved 3 times in that time, and we changed jobs a lot of times when we were there. I think that we are not the kind of people who are willing to just like plant ourselves, and we're always wanting to move and not move physically to another place, but just move in our minds at least and explore new pathways and do new stuff, do things in a different way. I think that you said something about when you said that thing about settling, it made me think about how um, maybe being unsettled is at the root of making change. You feel like there's something more. And for me, that's true. I always feel like there's something out there that I really want to keep investigating or keep playing with. Or, I don't know. Embrace being unsettled. Not everybody
I love
does.
that because you're right. And I think because the word unsettled can come with a very negative connotation, right? It can be like, oh, well, she's a bit flighty. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Right.
She's unclear of what she wants in her life. But I love how you put it, where it just could mean that there's just still something more, and you should just keep going down the path because eventually it will show up. And we know this, like we know this. You know it as well. Like you guys wrote this 5-year goal 20 some years ago that said we want to probably live or travel overseas, but more from a cultural perspective, not like a tourist perspective.
Right.
And had no idea how you were going to achieve that. But all of a sudden, you put it out to the universe, and the next thing you know, you've got a neighbor moving across the street, and they just sort of helped enable the vision, And I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is get on the path, and things start to show up, and it starts to formulate, and you go with that feeling. And am I feeling like I'm in flow? And if I'm not, then I got to take a
Do
different direction.
something.
But if I, right. And if I am in flow, then I'm going to keep going because that's, and I think that's where you have to be really, truly present. So, okay. So you've retired from teaching now. Is that correct?
Yes, I call it graduated because I'm never going to be retired.
That is so good. That's so good. I love that. Okay. No, no, no retirement words. And that's
No,
so
no,
true, right?
no.
Like I think we all have this idea that retirement needs to be golf course and lunches, but I
And
think
it
that,
is.
yeah, exactly. So, okay, so you're now living in Portugal. I can see it on your social media. You are revamping a
Oh,
little hut into something that's going to look pretty amazing, I think. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how did
yeah.
you how did you make the move to Portugal?
Well, we moved on the day we moved. We landed here on December 1st, 2021, and landed here. Meaning we drove our car from Milan, packed to the gills with all of our stuff. Not all of our stuff, but just what we thought we needed to get by for a few months. So we drive a Mini, packed
Oh,
completely.
I just see you
Okay.
two. Are you two looking like the traditional hippies? Like just kind
Yeah,
of like,
absolutely. And so we drove all the way across from France and Spain and yada yada to the south of Portugal. We had a plan with there's some people that we'd been staying with for several years. We'd come on vacation. This fantastic place here in the Algarve. There's surfers and the bed and breakfast and the farm, and we just loved it. We'd always come back. So the previous year in 2020, we had talked with them about they'd invited us to buy a piece of land from them because they had 500 hectares. I think that's accurate. I'm not positive. And so we said, sure, that sounds great. And then we would build and have our own space, have our own house. And we started designing our house. And Robert made little models of it. And we rethink what's the design, let's fix that and change it and make another model. So in the car, we had three models of what our house was going to be. We got here, we got out of the car. The first words out of the owner's mouth were, "You're not going to believe this. We have terrible news. The Comune has decided that they have put a moratorium on building." We're like, what? For how long?
oh no.
Indefinite moratorium, and it's still going. And it's because there were a lot of people moving in and just building these ramshackle places and fire danger, and there was a lot of concern, and I totally get it. But I didn't get it for us. Like, what? So we ended
Yeah.
up staying at the farm, which we had planned to do anyway while we were building, but we didn't know that we were going to be staying there without a plan. So we had some pretty dark months, dark in the sense of it was emotionally a huge struggle. And if we hadn't had a huge commitment to ourselves to make this work, we would have just gone back into America and like forget it. But we're not those kind of people. So we
Right.
worked and worked on alternatives for how to build there. Nothing was happening. It wasn't going to work. So we started a couple months later. We got a realtor and started looking at places, and the prices were ridiculous for just junkers. So we thought we're never going to find anything. After I think it was in April that we found a place. We found this place. We would no before this one. We found a place online. We were making it. We made an offer for it, but we made an offer too late. We hadn't even seen it, but we could tell what it was like, and we knew that places were getting ramped up really fast. So we thought we better just do it. We weren't even in town. We were driving in, I think, to Milan for Pete's sake. So we lost that deal. So when this one came on the market, we said, oh gosh, that looks really cool. Let's put an offer and then we'll go see it when I get back. So we did. We came back to look at it and walked through the house. And I mean, the weeds were so tall you couldn't really see the house. The landscape was a disaster. There were big pits in the thing. Like you were walking around, you couldn't see where you were walking. You're like, am I going to die in this property?
Oh my
The
God.
pit go into this hole or whatever. and then we came into the house. It had not been lived in since 2018, so it smelled really musty and it really old
Of course.
furniture and everything about it was like really but we were people who had vision from forever. Like my husband was a builder before he was an educator. He converted, when we were in the States, he converted a garage into our first house that we had together. So a garage. I was really small. We had 4
Okay.
children. Anyway, so here, then it took us quite a while. Like the whole process for buying, it took us another year. After we made the offer, we made 4 different offers. We finally settled on it. And the sellers are really difficult people. We just thought we were never going to get this solved, but we persisted, and so thankful we did. And so in June, just this past June, we finally got the deed to the property. So we've got to have patience, a year and a half of
Yeah.
waiting to get that solved. So now we're working away, rebuilding, and mostly we've been outside working in the landscape, but there's lots of projects.
Exactly, exactly. So no, and that's an exciting journey, and nothing good is ever easy, right? So I think if
No.
you keep that sort of attitude, which you have, it's like amazing. So what are you doing now? You and I met through a mutual friend, Marina. You're both in a retail marketing company together, and so tell us a little bit about that. Tell us, because this is what this new gig of yours is allowing you the opportunity to still work, live remote, and live this lifestyle. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay. Yeah, we've been working in this company for a while, a few years, and made this decision. Well, both of us came across this book called Outlive by um, Peter Attia, the doctor, and loved it. It just so aligned with what we think about living well through our lives and not succumbing to being old. Like it's a decision in your mind. Like, am I going to be frail or not? Neither one of us want that kind of a life. So we really started reading it a lot and talking about it a lot and really thinking about how can we move our business so that we sell health and wellness products, but how could we shift our business so that it was focused more on that living a quality life, so that the products that you buy are supporting your quality life, but there's so much more to it than just the products you take. So that's what we've been working on, and we are developing a guide for living better longer, which we are super excited about. It's about
Yeah.
helping people to elevate their health span so that they live well as they possibly can up to the end of their lives. So yeah, it's just taken on a whole new world. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the retail marketing part of it. It's Madeira, right?
It's Modere, yeah. Yeah, it's a health and
Madeira?
wellness Modere, just E on the end.
Modera.
Modere. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Modera.
health and
Okay.
wellness products. Primarily collagen is one of the hero products. There's a lot. There are products that have to do with gut health and hormones and phytonutrients for to fill in any nutritional gaps in your system. Um, Currently, we're doing a lot with what is called a 5-day drop, which is a way of getting your metabolism back in order and balanced, and changing how your habits about your eating and your sleeping and all of that. Yeah, so it's products that support living healthfully. Includes vitamins and minerals and those kinds of things too.
Yeah. I have taken the product as well, and yes, I do know that the collagen is the number one seller. It just seemed I loved it.
Yeah.
I could really notice a difference immediately, like within the first 30 days, and that's very unusual.
Yeah.
Usually, that stuff kind of takes about 60 to 90 days to see an
Right.
impact. So what you've done is you've partnered with you met Marina in that company, and then together you've partnered to sort of build this other side of the business, which is living this longer, healthier life.
Right. Yep.
Right. Okay.
So
And so what
we
would
are
you
writing.
say?
Oh, sorry. We're writing content
No,
for
go ahead.
that we are going to be promoting. We are promoting already. So yeah, so we're excited to share that with people that are interested in changing the quality of your life and being able to be more confident about how you progress in your life.
And so, you talk a lot about like boosting metabolism and the nutrients and supplements and things like that. And that is a fact, right? As we get into our 50s and older, we start to
Right.
lose we start to lose the muscle mass, and it just like goes like that. Like it's
Yeah.
just like all of a sudden
Darn.
one day I woke up and I went, where is my bum? I barely had a bum before and now I have no bum. So um but yeah, so what's sort of the value proposition of the content that you're writing? What would you say are some things that women need to be looking at to live this longer,
Mhm.
healthier life? And I know that it's
Yeah.
not just for women, but
It's not just for women, but we are our target audience is women who are in their usually
mhm,
early 40s on, because really by that time you're generally in perimenopause or menopause, and things are changing radically in your body, and you don't understand them necessarily. So we're working. Our main focus is on education, how to help women understand their bodies and what's going on, and then how to address them. And so with Atiya's book, the five main areas that we're focusing on. One is exercise, and the the essential nature of exercise to prevent as a preventative tool for your health, your nutrition, diet, and then getting your weight down so that you aren't struggling with diseases that will impact the rest of your life and health. Sleep, of course, getting quality sleep and using certain habits to develop that. Supplementation. So what kinds of supplements are indicated for you, or is not all the same, and what would help your body function more effectively. And then the mind, like the cognitive and emotional and mental health aspects of how our minds work and how we can support those. So it's really interesting because a while back I sent out a questionnaire with some women with just 5 questions, and what are the kinds of things that you're looking forward to about getting older, and what are you kind of like, no, I don't want that. And a lot
yeah.
of people are talking about like fear of losing their minds, or fear of being incapable of moving, just losing your energy. And you probably know too, women that you've met or people you've met that hit 50 and then they just started going downhill, and we don't want that to happen. So
Yeah.
we're just making sure that women are well educated about that and know what options that they have to move forward. And just also to understand the changes in medicine. Like medicine is on the cusp of some pretty
Hmm.
radical change, which is really exciting. In the past, it's been like treating what's going on in you, and now we're working more towards foundational functional medicine, which is what is going on behind the scenes, what is causing this issue, so that they're really going back into your system and looking more carefully at lab reports and DNA testing, that sort of thing, to just get an understanding of why is this going on with you, and how can we then resolve it. And really using like things like exercise and nutrition and so on to address our health issues.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I know
Love that too.
yeah, and I think that probably a lot of things that people are taking a pill for right now could be solved just through proper gut health.
Yeah,
And like that's right at the core, focusing on your gut
yeah,
health, and then what you're putting in your body, how you're exercising, sleep. Yeah, it's, and when you get into your 50s, all of a sudden it just happens.
things
And
go
maybe,
haywire.
in your, it for me, it felt like it just showed up. Like everything, every
Yeah,
symptom, menopausal symptom, everything just showed up without knowing that probably in my 40s I did have those symptoms, or signs of it.
right.
But I mean, I've always been an
Yeah,
avid workout person. I've always tried to eat as healthy as possible. I've now started to work towards, counting my macros and getting much more targeted there, just to see how that works.
right.
Uh, I just signed up for a 1 year challenge to remove alcohol completely from my life. Not that I have an alcohol
Woo!
problem. I know. And I feel great about that, and it's something, so it's kind of like, I'm not going to set out to this, because the one thing I do love to do, and I'm sure we all do, is just like to have a glass of wine with a girlfriend or a friend, or, a
Yeah.
group of people on a Friday night. And, it usually leads to two or three, but I love that. And so the one thing
Me
I'm
too.
mostly worried about is the boredom that's going to come from not drinking. And anyway, so maybe we'll have another episode on that. I'd love to bring a group of people together and have an episode on that itself,
Yes.
because we do use a lot of those sort of things as our, social connection, and so trying to find something else. So
And
Madeira, where would you say, if somebody was thinking about starting a business, but they didn't want to go, sort of like starting their own product or service, retail marketing is a good option. I've had Marina on
Mhm.
before. She did talk about Modera and how it's been, life changing for her. So how has it been? How has it changed your life being part of Modera? Because first of all, I think if you're going to sell products like that in that sort of space, you have to really like the product,
You have to, yes. And it has to be working
right?
for you. So if it's not working for
Right.
you, then you can't sell it because you don't have any passion for it. And so, yeah, I think I started out with the collagen
And
and like you, and it worked. It was so great. I'm sorry, you were going to say something. No?
no, no, I was just going
Okay.
to say, and yeah, so yeah, what,
So with collagen, that it worked right away. I mean, I don't think within 30 days, but 60 days for sure. And just realizing, like, wow, this makes an impact on me so readily, and people need this. Like, your joints will not always be working great. You've got to have, because your collagen diminishes in your body. Just the natural collagen that your body produces, you need to have it supplemented, and it can't just be any old collagen. It has to be the type 2, the kind that really supports the joints and so on. And then I think I was really inspired by. Well, first of all, I'm really inspired by the CEO, the woman who has developed it. She's the mind behind the products, and her whole story is just really fascinating to me. And her, I don't know, the quality of person that she is just that really got me. So I don't want to just work for any old goofball just because the
yeah,
product is great. The whole gut health thing was, like, for me, getting into the business has been a huge source of education for me, and it's really what started me on this road for this living better longer. But understanding how my gut health impacts my brain and how essential it is to address that was huge. And then hormones was the
mhm.
other, just huge. Like, when we came out with our products for a natural way to address, not completely natural, but mostly natural way to address perimenopause, menopause, even postmenopause. That I mean, I wish, like anything, I had known this stuff when I was going through perimenopause, because it would have really made a huge difference. So I just seeing the quality of the products and what they can do for me, even in postmenopause, I feel like it's my duty to educate
Yeah,
women. And no, you can have an answer right here.
yeah, exactly. And I think that, that's usually what happens is, if you've solved a problem for yourself, then the natural thing to do is to share the story. And so to share it with others. And so I think that's
Right,
kind of, how a lot of people start to sell those products, is because they've used them themselves and they've been, transformational for them as well. So
right.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a good story. So, and I know that the company isn't really like, I'm just going to call the elephant out in the room a little bit here when I ask you, like, there are some horror stories about retail marketing.
Sure.
A
Yeah.
lot of people know it as MLM, multi-level marketing. There's a really nasty one on Netflix right now about the lady with the tights, colorful tights and stuff. It was just,
Oh,
I don't know if you've watched it yet,
no.
but yeah, I watched it just out of curiosity, and it was, yeah, it's crazy. Like it, so, but I do know Modera is not like that. So
Right.
tell us a little bit
Right.
about what the structure and how the business aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah, you can join even as just a customer and also be earning because if you sign up, you pay $39, I guess it is. I'm in Europe, so my people in Euro, and I think it's the same amount. $39 fee just to be registered, and anytime that you recommend a product to somebody, it's kind of like this whole affiliate marketing. It's the same idea. So if you recommend a product to somebody and they buy using your code, then you earn on their purchase. So it's a fascinating process because before I worked for another company that wasn't like this. It wasn't a social selling process, but this is different because you give out codes, and like I have a code that I share all the time with people who are interested, and if they buy, then I earn off of their purchase, but then they also can earn from, like, if they recommend a product to somebody else. Does that make sense?
Yep, yep.
So that's social selling. That's in a nutshell. That's the basics of it. I think that one thing to do
Okay,
is if social selling is something of interest to somebody, to you, I think it's really, really important to research the company. Really dive
for sure.
into talking to people who are in it and find out how does this work? How do I get paid? And what's my commission? And so on, so that you're not just like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go do it, because you know, you won't be happy in the end. So
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that, don't do anything that you're not passionate about. And
yeah.
I know that sometimes we can come up with these ideas and we start to go down this path of implementing them right away. And then, oops, all of a sudden you're like 6 months
Oh,
into it and you're like, I can't stand this. I hate it. So I'm a
yeah.
big believer in test, test, test. And that's what I think I like about, being in that sort of social selling. You called it social selling. I'm calling it retail
Yeah.
marketing.
Or
But I do
social
like the
retail. Yeah, it's all the same.
social retail, sorry, social retail.
Yeah.
But I do like it that it is more of an affiliate marketing thing because
Yeah.
you're right. It's like share your code. We see a lot of that happening in anything that we're doing
Right.
nowadays. But I do believe that you must be a believer in the product first, and then
Absolutely.
if you are, it's easier to sell. And in most people's cases, they're afraid of selling. So
Yeah.
pick
Yeah.
something, right? Pick something that you are
You love.
absolutely in love with. And
Mm.
then it's not even selling, it's just
Just
recommending.
talking
And the
about it.
way you
Yeah.
say it is so passionate, and you become a believer right away. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
appreciate that. So Mary, is
Yeah.
this guide ready to go? Is like, can somebody get the guide from you now,
Oh,
or
soon. We're
nah?
still
Putting
we're
pressure on you.
I know. We want it to be done, but we got to make sure it's exactly the quality we want. So we keep tweaking things. Yeah. Yeah, we're excited about it. It'll be available hopefully before the year's end, so that we can get it out in people's hands and start getting feedback about it and start writing our next version. you
Exactly. Yeah.
know,
And then,
you
yeah,
know how
right.
that is.
Exactly. Right. The first version is never the final version.
No,
Yes. The first version is never the final version. So get it
but
out there, and then you'll be revamping it. Yeah.
but it's
So,
already inspired us to
Mary,
lots of directions we want to go with it. So
perfect. That's perfect. Mary, so where would you say, if somebody wanted to kind of check you out and maybe follow you and find out a little bit more about you, where would we send them?
I'm on Instagram. Mary Marj one is my handle, and
Mary
on
Marj one. So
yeah,
MaryMarj
ARYMARJ one.
one. Okay. At so that's at Instagram.
That's
Okay.
Instagram. On Facebook, I tried to get it the same, but I couldn't for some reason. So it's Mary K. Marj.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I'm
All right.
working on Pinterest and trying to get that set up, but it'll be under one of those names. So coming soon.
Okay.
More stuff.
Okay. Well, Mary, thank you so much for joining. And your
Yeah.
story is an inspiration for anybody who's out there sitting on the fence about, what am I going to do now that I'm in my 50s? I've got all this extra time because kids have left or whatever the
Yeah.
situation might be. You truly are an inspiration. And I think a lot of people will think, you know what, I'm going to give this a little try. So thank you
Nice.
so much. And
Thank you.
I hope to have you back soon.
Great. Thanks, Lynette.